You probably didn't know that one of the biggest real estate battles in American history was fought between two of the most famous men of our time. The battle consisted of deceit, intimidation, and a bidding war of millions. Those two titans were Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and only one man came out victorious. Since the death of Jeffrey Epstein, rampant online debate has ensued as to who his real associates were. Who did he work for? Who did he work with? And who did he just brush shoulders with? One of the most important events of our time is now swamped with misinformation, disinformation, and fringe theories. And maybe the most consequential relationship to parse out is Jeffrey Epstein's connection to former President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And why did they get into one of the biggest real estate feuds of all time?
Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein.
President Trump once socialized with Jeffrey Epstein.
President Trump is asked about Epstein.
Epstein.
Trump.
Donald Trump.
Despite our attempts to buy Jeffrey Epstein's ranch, we don't have the money to be in a bidding war with Trump or Epstein. Yet. Most of our videos on important subjects like this get demonetized. I guess YouTube can't handle the truth. So please check out our merch and support our mission by hitting the link in the description.
I love this shirt. Take those shirts off and give them to me right now.
Now, before we dive into this battle of real estate tycoons, let's take a look at what we know about the relationship between the two. It is important to get background, context, and a sense of how these two men interacted before all hell broke loose.
Breaking news, disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life while he was behind bars here in New York City. Epstein.
The day after New York authorities took Epstein into custody in 2019, Trump blatantly stated that he was not a fan of Epstein's.
I wasn't a big fan of Jeffrey Epstein, that I can tell you.
But in 2002, Trump had expressed a different sentiment. He told the New York Magazine, quote, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life." Now that's one way to put it. However, it is unclear whether or not Trump knew of his depraved crimes.
Well, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. I mean, people in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years.
Nonetheless, it's no secret that Trump and Epstein were somehow affiliated. You see, Epstein made several appearances at Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. Here is footage of Epstein and Trump laughing and talking together at a party Trump threw in 1992. But that wasn't the only party the two would be seen at together. Photographs and videos show Epstein and Trump posing together at the mansion in 1992, 1997, and 2000. Flight logs show Trump had flown on the Lolita Express, Epstein's plane, numerous times. According to the Daily Mail, Epstein is also said to have flown on Trump's private plane. It is worth noting that Trump never went to Epstein's island. Most of the plane rides were to and from Florida, the place where the two would eventually hash out one of the craziest battles in real estate history. When Epstein's black book of phone numbers was revealed a few years ago, it contained 14 numbers for Trump, his wife Melania, and others in Trump's inner circle. Trump also dined at Epstein's Upper East Side Manhattan mansion in 2003, according to the New York Magazine. However, this was before Trump decided to kick Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago home.
I threw him out of a club. I didn't want anything to do with him. That was many, many years ago.
According to The Independent, Trump banned Epstein from his Mar-a-Lago club after Epstein hit on another member's teenage daughter.
You're fired.
The relationship between Trump and Epstein isn't as cut and dry as the mainstream media might have you believe. And when it came to putting Epstein behind bars, Trump was more than happy to help.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, "Let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know." and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever.
But Epstein victim Maria Farmer is not a fan of Donald Trump. Here she is showing a painting she made for the FBI to illustrate what happened to her.
And then here you have Donald Trump.
Everything's looking great.
I made him a very little man, Donald Trump. I'm going to tell you why. I met him with Jeffrey Epstein. We just have some, an illustration for the FBI.
Virginia Giuffre, another Epstein victim, says that she was recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell while working at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. However, she clarified that Trump was not part of the process and never engaged in any of the sex crimes, stating that Trump never even flirted with her. Although this topic has become heavily politicized, Trump's involvement and knowledge in Epstein's crimes is unsubstantiated as of now. While the two were cordial for many years, in 2004, the state of their relationship flipped from associates to adversaries when the real estate titans went to war over one of the most luxurious properties in the world. For the better part of 2 decades, starting in the late 1980s, Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump swam in the same social pool. Friends would be a strong word, but they were definitely associates and neighbors. Epstein bought his own place in Palm Beach, Florida in 1990, just 2 miles from Trump's. However, despite multiple invitations, Trump never visited Epstein's Florida house. This is where the feud begins. In 2004, their amicable relationship turned into a bitter rivalry as the two titans declared war on one another over a piece of real estate. And it started with a declaration from Donald Trump, a declaration that Epstein took as a threat. In November 2004, Trump declared himself intent on winning, quote, the finest piece of land in Florida and probably the US, in a state that was about to go on the market. Epstein and Trump were both eyeing this place, and I don't blame them. Just look at this thing. It was an oceanfront Palm Beach property called Maison de l'Amitié, meaning House of Friendship. Trump said he planned to create the second greatest house in America, Mar-a-Lago being the first, and then resell it. But Epstein had plans of his own. The previous owner of the property, Abe Gossman, had purchased it in 1988 for about $12 million from Epstein's good friend and billionaire, Leslie Wexner. In contrast to Trump, Epstein seemed interested in actually living in the place, and in hindsight, probably wanted to implement it into his operation, as his other Palm Beach property was vital to his massive illegal sex ring. When the house finally hit the market, both men came out in full swing. Neither man played fair, and Trump fired first. Behind the scenes, before the auction, he tried to work the ref, the trustee in the case, Joseph Lazinski. Epstein was playing dirty too. He also tried to work the ref. Lazinski is on record saying both men lobbied him with big money. And if that wasn't dirty enough, they took it one step further, disparaging one another behind each other's backs. Trump told Lazinski, "You don't want to do a deal with him. He doesn't have the money." Then Epstein told Lazinski, "Donald is all talk. He doesn't have the money."
Are you kidding?
Early on, Epstein had the upper hand in the competition for the estate. Epstein had agreed on a price and terms, but perhaps Trump's disparaging comments maybe worked, because instead of closing with Epstein, a live auction was then called on November 15th, 2004. All the bidders, their representatives, and a small cavalry of lawyers representing the creditors and the Gossman family gathered in a courtroom at the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in West Palm Beach, Florida. The auction was about to commence. Epstein was there in person, but Trump was only connected by phone. Now let the games begin. To kick off the fight, one of Epstein's 3 attorneys tried to knock Trump out of the bidding. Trump had previously demanded that the property have title insurance. So Epstein's attorney argued that this disqualified Trump because Epstein didn't care about the title insurance, He would close either way. The judge denied Epstein's objection, so the bidding war began. It started with Epstein's offer of $37.25 million. That number rose all the way to $38.6 million before he eventually dropped out. One of the lawyers in the room is quoted as saying, Trump had made up his mind to get the property no matter the price. But just when Trump thought he had won the battle with a $38 million bid, a third bidder jumped in at the last minute with an offer. This real estate battle was taking place when Trump was having difficulty finding banks to lend him money. In fact, Trump Entertainment Resorts was about to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. But this was not going to stop Trump from raising his bid and buying that house. He quickly won up the last minute bidder with a winning bid of $41.35 million. At the time, this was considered one of the most expensive house sales that we have on record. Trump had won the battle, and that month he left 2 messages for Epstein at his home in Palm Beach, Florida, according to Vice News.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Whether he was calling to gloat in his victory or apologize for the foul play, the contents of the messages remain unknown. This wasn't the end of the Maison de l'Amitié controversy. Trump renovated the property and 4 years later sold it to a Russian billionaire named Dmitry Rybolovlev for $95 million, more than doubling his initial investment. The media used this detail as ammunition to attack Trump several years later during his presidency, in the midst of the Russian collusion witch hunt. This speculation intensified when Rybolovlev was detained in Monaco in 2018 on various corruption charges. All the Russian speculation, of course, turned out to be basically nothing. In fact, Rybolovlev demolished the mansion in 2016 and sold the land for $108 million. It's probably a good thing that the battle went down like it did and Trump came out victorious. If Epstein would have won, who knows what evils might have taken place there. What we do know is that one of the most expensive homes ever sold, the prized property that was fought so hard for, is now gone forever, as is Jeffrey Epstein. As an aside, the Lolita Express might have been Epstein's way of hiding his operation in plain sight, pun intended. Lolita means precocious, seductive young girl. Kind of makes you wonder how nobody knew what was going on. Except for Alex Jones, apparently.
The Lolita Express, just Google that. And
what is that?
Bill Clinton was like on 20 flights. First it was 7.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
to this pedophile
I know
island that has a temple in it.
Another coin in the jar for that guy.